When looking at the history of the Walt Disney Studios, one of its most important periods was definitely the 1980s. During that decade, Ron Miller was given more freedom to expand Disney's live-action movies beyond ridiculous comedies and animal pictures, and Touchstone Pictures was formed to broaden the studio's horizons outside of family films. Frank Wells, Michael Eisner, and Jeffrey Katzenberg then came in and brought the expertise from other Hollywood studios to the Mouse House. And the celebrated animation unit at Disney found additional life with a new generation of artists and animators coming in. These events helped make the 80s a time of high creativity and innovation for Disney, so I wanted to celebrate that by naming my favorite Disney and Touchstone movies from those 10 years, starting with Adventures in Babysitting. Chris Columbus's directorial debut, his penchant for having young characters wind up in extraordinary situations, is evident throughout this humorous comedy. There's a ticking clock as Elizabeth Shue heads to the city with the children and teens she's paid to watch over, and the situations they get caught up in provide a lot of fun. Columbus does not shy away from the dangers of the big city while balancing it with light humor. Shue is particularly good as the babysitter Christine, while the other young actors, including Anthony Rapp in his first film role, also do strong work. Maya Brun especially stands out as a Thor fangirl, and her character arc even leads to a neat cameo appearance from Vincent D'Onofrio. The title promise and adventure in the film definitely delivers, with a movie that also proved Columbus had the talent to graduate from ambulance screenwriter to major movie director. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. This is yet another movie that proved the launching pad for a successful director, with visual effects artist Joe Johnston taking the helm for this delightful charmer. Using his skills from working several years at ILM, Johnston believably transports the titular kids to the backyard, and the result is a spectacle. It takes so many creative avenues in depicting the backyard through a pint-sized point of view. I like how it develops them over the course of the story, and the film even manages to make an ant into an endearing character. The special effects, using a variety of techniques, hold up really well today. The comedy also delivers, mostly courtesy of Rick Moranis and Matt Frewer. Johnston is able to keep the pace throughout the entire movie, giving us one great set piece after another, right up until the end. I've always had a fondness for stories about tiny beings trying to navigate our massive world, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is one reason why. Ruthless People. From the team of Zucker, Abrams, Zucker, Ruthless People starts off with the simple comic premise of a millionaire's wife getting kidnapped and him having no interest in paying the ransom. However, as the movie plays on, the number of comedic situations piles up and it gets crazier and crazier. The film successfully creates all these humorous subplots that cleverly connect with the main storyline, and each character provides plenty of laughs. Danny DeVito is hilarious as the millionaire, while Bette Midler digs into the role of his frequently irritated wife. I love how the kidnappers keep getting confused and frustrated at her husband's actions, and we also get Bill Pullman in a very funny turn as someone who confounds everyone with his stupidity. This is a comedy that is absolutely best seen without knowing the jokes beforehand. Don't even watch the trailer, as there's so many clever surprises around every corner and brilliant comical lines. Even though Zucker, Abrams, Zucker got their start in spoof movies, Ruthless People more than proved they could direct other sorts of comedies, although this would be the last time they would direct a movie together. If you're looking for a comedy with non-stop laughs, this definitely does the trick. The Fox and the Hound, a touching animated film about the friendship between, well, a fox and a hound. This may not receive as much attention as other Disney animated movies, but I think has a lot to appreciate. I really like its storytelling, which is focused primarily on naturalism and just spending time with the characters as they grow. The conflicts that arise provide the needed drama and mostly come out of mistakes and the unfortunate prejudice passed down. The humor scenes work, along with more action-packed sequences. One scene with a bear was a particular showcase for the younger animators newly arrived at Disney. The Fox and the Hound really is a beautiful film to look at, and any time I revisit it, I like watching these characters as friendships evolve or enemies are sadly created. Dead Poets Society. Centered on a group of teenage boys who are inspired to explore their passions, the film appears on the surface to just be another inspirational drama. However, I think it manages to rise above that, mainly with how it explores the main characters, especially Todd, played by Ethan Hawke, and Neil, played by Robert Sean Leonard. The film is able to show them trying to live up to their parents' ideals, and you do manage to get to know them as the film plays on. Director Peter Weir and screenwriter Tom Schulman managed to take us into this prep school, and while the film is partly about how they get inspired to seize the day, it's also not afraid of calling them out for a few of the ways they go about this. Dead Poets Society is often seen as that movie where Robin Williams inspires the students to defy convention, and yes, there is a bit of that, but as John Keating is a more well-rounded character than he's given credit for, and is even shown to not want his students to go too far or break the rules laid down by the school. The turn the movie takes in the third act is surprising, but exists to establish the unnecessary pressure some parents put on their children. Neil's father is definitely one of the most despicable dads in film history, and then to get frustrated with his actions is a credit to the skill of the filmmakers in telling the story, one which earns its emotional high points. Good Morning Vietnam. Yes, another movie with Robin Williams. Inspired by Adrian Cronauer's time as a radio DJ in Vietnam, the film mostly served as a showcase for Williams' talents. Barry Levinson allowed Williams the freedom to riff in the radio booth, and he created so many funny comedic bits. While the movie certainly deviated from reality, with Cronauer saying that his punishment would absolutely not have been light if he did half the things Williams did in the movie, it nonetheless works as a story about going up against establishment and a need to bring some sort of levity to troops during wartime. There is humor gained out of the way he goes up against the higher-ranking officers, with Bruno Kirby having a particularly funny turn as a lieutenant who perceives himself as a comedy genius. However, the movie also shows some of the repercussions of his actions, and Levinson does not shy away from depicting the harshest side of the Vietnam War. Good Morning Vietnam ultimately works as a war film, a comedy, and a great example of Robin Williams' improvisational and dramatic talents. The Great Mouse Detective, an exciting take on Sherlock Holmes, but told from the perspective of a mouse with his own sleuthing skills, the Disney artists and animators brought a lot of imagination to this adaptation of Eve Tice's books. This is a movie I really enjoyed watching several times on video as a child, and it's easy to see why. A lot of credit goes to the four directors, Ron Clements, John Musker, Dave Michener, and Bernie Manson, for the energy they brought to the film. The characterization of Basil Bixby, as slightly full of himself, allows him to stand out among Disney protagonists, but you still root for him to stop the evil Professor Ratigan and save the day. Speaking of Ratigan, he proves a memorable villain thanks to his great design and brilliant vocal performance from Vincent Price. He even gets an awesome musical number written by Henry Mancini, who composed one of his best scores for the film. There are so many great set pieces in The Great Mouse Detective, with a highlight coming from a scene in Big Ben, which made great use of computer technology to create the gears. If you were to ask me what film I think began Disney's animation renaissance of the late 80s and 90s, I would absolutely point to The Great Mouse Detective. Tron, its story of a tech whiz who gets sucked into a computer world, offered so many possibilities in the 80s, and Steven Lisberger takes full advantage as he experiments with what technology was capable of at the time. I love the look of Tron, which is definitely a product of the time it was created, but that's a huge part of its charm. It really does feel like what the inside of a computer would have looked like in 1982, and Jeff Bridges' Flynn serves as a great avatar for the audience looking to understand the mechanics of this place. Wendy Carlos' score and the Journey songs are also key to the enjoyment of Tron and fit with the techie environment featured. Neat action scenes like the light cycle chase add to the entertaining ride this film is. Tron captures so much but what I love about science fiction as it successfully transports the viewer to a world they've never seen before. Without this movie, we would not have gotten later technological marvels like Toy Story, but the film manages to stand up as more than just a computer animation demo. The Little Mermaid, a film where all the ingredients came together to create something truly special. Ron Clements, John Musker, Alan Menken, Howard Ashman, and all the artists of Walt Disney Animation produced a truly enchanting and unforgettable fairy tale. The titular mermaid Ariel is a wonderful protagonist, with her fascination with the surface and curiosity about what it's like up there being pivotal to making the audience fall in love with her. The film includes so many fantastic characters, too, with Ursula the Sea Witch serving as one of Disney's best villains, and Sebastian the Crab becoming one of the best animal sidekicks. The Menken and Ashman songs add to the fun of the film, with the big showstopper, Under the Sea, being the highlight. This truly is one of those musical soundtracks where all the songs hit. Then there's the lovely romance at the center, with the film doing an excellent job of developing the relationship between Ariel and Prince Eric. The Little Mermaid has absolutely earned its place as a classic Disney animated film that will be cherished for generations to come. And my number one Disney Touchstone movie of the 1980s is Who Framed Roger Rabbit? A brilliant combination of live-action animation, this film functions as both a celebration of the golden age of animation and a fun take on film noir. With Robert Zemeckis handling the live-action scenes and Richard Williams directing the animation, the film is a huge ball of energy and does a fantastic job of taking the audience to 1940s Hollywood. Well, a 1940s Hollywood populated with cartoon characters. Bob Hoskins brought so much dimension to Eddie Valiant, and we see his frustrations with Roger while also still dealing with his brother's death from a tune. And it really does look like he's interacting with anime characters through the entire runtime. Charles Fleischer's voice work and Andreas Deja's animation are pivotal, making Roger Rabbit a memorable cartoon icon, and one that would have believably been as popular as Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny if he existed in the 40s. Executive producer Steven Spielberg's ability to get different studios to agree to include the animated characters in his film add to the rich world depicted in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You also have a smart script that incorporates real California history into the story, a chilling performance from Christopher Lloyd as a villain as Judge Doom, and one of Alan Silvestri's best scores that wonderfully combines both the cartoon and detective film influences. I could go on and on about everything that Who Framed Roger Rabbit does so well. Disney spent almost the entire decade trying to get the film off the ground, and in many ways it's a perfect representation of that 80s output, with its willingness to experiment and reach new audiences that would otherwise scoff at a Disney picture. Now let me know in the comments what your favorite Disney and Touchstone movies of the 80s are, and I'll see you next time.